Hey guys, what's up? This is Ken Susi here at Fishman Live, and I'm so sorry that we're a little bit late. We're having a little bit of issues with the Skype and getting us hooked up on the live feed, but everything is great, and we have a very special guest today. But before I announce this guest, as I said before, we're dealing with ways to avoid this current pandemic, and now we're seeing how it's affected the music industry, and obviously it's affecting everyone's lives, socially, business-wise, and now we're dealing with a health crisis as well as an economic crisis at the same time. So please remember to adhere to the regulations of your state. So now I have a very special guest, which I'm excited to announce, Mr. John Driskell Hopkins from the Zac Brown Band. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm living the dream over here. I'm over in Massachusetts. Where are you at?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Nice. Well, you know, obviously, we're all dealing with this current crisis. I mean, what are you doing to pass the time? What are you doing to keep your family and the people that you know that are close around you safe right now?
Well, we haven't left the house except for groceries since March 8th.
Yep.
So we have been locked down. We canceled our, spring break vacation. We're on spring break right now. This is all the excitement that we get for spring break. But we've bought a $65 pool and filled it up in the front yard, and we're just trying to enjoy, the warmer days. Today's a little chilly, but it is it's nice to really be home and not be able to go anywhere. But I definitely feel like we're getting cabin fever. So, I've got 3 little girls, 11 and 2 7s, and they're wide open. Every night this week we've had movie night. So, we're on episode 8 of the Star Wars saga, including Rogue One. So we're in my attic right now, and this is my studio. I'll show you I hang up this big screen right here.
Yeah. Oh.
And then the girls, yeah. So then the girls throw popcorn all over the studio, and I make them.
Well, just so you know, John, we're literally doing this feed from Fishman Live, but we're broadcasting on Facebook, Fishman's Facebook Live, Fishman's Twitter account, Twitch account, excuse me, and YouTube. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit fried. Jen Majera from Evanescence, who I mentioned earlier, is on the feed. She says hello to you. But anybody out there that has any questions for John, please send them over. I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be asking some questions, but just kind of send along your questions, and we'll get to them as we can. But so that's kind of cool that you're like hanging out, with the girls and watching Star Wars. Now, are you watching them from episode 4 first, or are you starting with the very first Star Wars, like the part 1?
Started with Phantom Menace.
Wow.
And it's only because, this was my reasoning. I was like, look, if we get those over with, then we don't have to worry about it. If I start you at episode 4, the surprises are going to be better, but you're going to be going backward in quality. So, everybody has their opinions about all of the episodes, but I saw episode 4 in the theater when I was a kid. So there's nothing like the original timeline, the way that it all came together.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun.
I think guys our age, I mean, you're a little bit older than me, because I think that my first Star Wars was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So that was my first one, and I think that was 82 or 85. I can't remember, but it's kind of 83. So it's kind of cool. Like, we've had years to obsess over those movies, but your girls, if they could start at 1. They could start at Phantom Menace, because it's just at that point, it's just one. It's a sequence at that point.
Well, I didn't think they would notice all of the technological differences, but we watched Return of the Jedi 2 nights ago, and that land speeder thing through the indoor moon.
Yeah.
The green screen is so weak compared to what it is now, compared to what green screen is now, that my 11-year-old was like, that green screen is terrible. I was like, wow. Really? She knew. So.
Yeah, she's like, why is part 1, 2, and 3 all like cartoon CGI-ish, and then why does it go backwards and then forwards?
Yeah. Totally.
Well, hey man, I got to ask you. You've had a very interesting career. I see that you started off. You were raised in Gainesville, Georgia, correct?
That's right.
And from there, you went to Florida State University, and you basically started bands in that area at that time. Gainesville, for me, I play in a heavy metal band called Unearth. We tour a lot. We've toured a lot in the early thousands. Gainesville's always been kind of a hot spot for music, in my opinion, whether it be heavy metal or country or rock or whatever it is. And even Florida, they're pretty obsessed down there, right, with music. And what was it like starting your own bands prior to joining your current band, the Zach Brown
Well,
band?
first of all, let's make sure we're talking about Gainesville, Georgia, and not Gainesville, Florida.
Right. Gainesville, Georgia has always been a hotbed for definitely music. Like there's a lot of music enthusiasts there, correct?
Yeah, there are a lot of. It's funny because for such a small town, you're not wrong. We're very close to Athens, very close to Atlanta, so we're kind of the foothills of the Appalachian, the last hub to get into so you will have some music come through Gainesville, but most of the music that I saw growing up was in Athens or Atlanta.
Yep.
But I'm blown away constantly at how many people that I grew up with and that continually come out of Gainesville that are super talented and driven to go perform.
Where was your spot in Atlanta? Was it the Masquerade? Were you playing a lot of gigs there?
I played a lot of gigs at the Dark Horse Tavern. I played a few gigs at Masquerade. We played at the old Cotton Club back in the day. We played at Small Bar a lot. The Chameleon Club was a big thing in the 90s when my bands were playing around. But I got back from Florida State around 95, right before the Olympics. And and we expected Atlanta to just blow up. We didn't know it was going to take 20 more years before it blew up, but we did expect it to really kind of blow up. And it's an entertainment city, and now it's insane with the movies and music has really come about. So.
Yeah, so when you were in Florida, so then you moved to Florida, right? And you go to college down there, you meet some people.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could totally tell by your career path. I mean, you're just embedded in music. You're just literally in the middle of everything. You do producing. Obviously, you're in a studio now, but you do producing. You also weren't you like a theater major, or you studied being? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. Like what was with the shift in kind of like career moves?
Well, I went to Georgia for 2 years, and then I was studying business there and doing kind of the straight down the middle route. And I was not pleased with that. I was volunteering to direct high school plays, and I was playing music with my friends and writing songs, and just couldn't stop performing. So my junior year, I left and went to Florida State to get my degree in theater. And within a week, I was playing in a band. So we played cover songs all over the city down there in Tallahassee. And the band was called the Woodpeckers, and the band eventually became Distant Relatives,
Yep.
where we put a record out. So it was a very developmental time in my musical experience. And from there, I jumped off into an acoustic duo with my buddy Andy Birdsall, and that's where the band Brighter Shade became the next 10 years of my musical path before joining Zach's band. So moving to Atlanta in 95, I've made my living playing gigs and working in my studio.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing to me. I'm very much similar to you. I was never a theater major or anything, but I'm very much into photography. I'm definitely into film. I own my own recording studio and I played in a live band, right? Having said that, there's so much that goes along with all three of those things. It's not just like you could like be a studio guy and have a hobby of making films or being in a band. It's just like, so I guess my question is like, were you producing other bands? Were you just embedded in that scene? Is that what drove you? Or were you more fixated on, say, the studio aspect of it than the live aspect? Or was it just one of those like things that you did in parallel?
I started recording because I didn't have any money to pay for recording time. So I was looking for things like, you start with a 4-track and you go to an 8-track and then you're 8-track and guys 8 and you've got 16. And the next thing you know, you're 32 tracks into this, live board that you've all pitched in and gotten. And that's how this grassroots studio thing goes, because you don't have, it's better to have spent, $5,000 or $10,000 on recording gear than to have spent $5,000 or $10,000 on one record or 3 songs or something. So, and I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer anyway, and I had a knack for it, and it just kind of blossomed into uh, learning my way through mistakes and opportunities coming and going and changing and playing all the time, but also recording, and that eventually leads to recording other bands instead of just my material. So it's kind of a natural progression if you've got a knack for things like that.
Well, I think now being in the industry for a while and having made a bunch of records and recordings, I mean, I'm the same way. I built my own recording studio because I couldn't stand being in a studio with a producer that didn't understand my music. Right? You pay for the time, you show up, the guy's like maybe taking it, not too seriously, or you just kind of have the day and you're running another room. I think great recordings come with time, right? So I'm sure you found you had plenty of time to find your tones. Was that like one of the motivating factors other than making your music? It's like making your own, like, say, recordings is one thing, but to actually spend the time and miking the amps right and like spending extra time on that part. I mean, that all comes, right? Is that's the thing that really got you, right?
Yeah. If you're in your own garage, there's nobody there punching the clock.
Yeah.
And if you get it right, I remember we got to the end of our first Brighter Shade record, and it was on 8 tracks, and the drummer was like, I hate my part. I was like, okay, on this one tune, and I was like, you're already bust. Like we had 8 mics on you. We bust you to a two tracks. You've only got 2 tracks to play with. And he's like, just give me a kick mic and an overhead.
You're old school.
Played the whole thing again. I was like, okay, dude.
That's awesome. That's super old school. Someone's asking right here, Amanda, she's asking, what has Brighter Shade Studios produced? So other than your own projects, what else have you produced out of there?
Well, we've done a lot of local and regional stuff. I mean, one of the first things was the Sonia Lee record that we did down at 800 East, where Brighter Shade used to be. But one of the things that kind of really made me understand that my studio was capable of handling big acts is that we did the first 2 Zac Brown Band records. So that was the kind of thing where our Nashville producers, in order for us to save money, came to my place down in Atlanta and brought a rack full of gear, and then all of the foundation and basic tracks and all of You Get What You Give at Brighter Shade Studios in Atlanta. And since then, I took a moment from 2010 to 2016 where the house that we were living in wouldn't accommodate real recordings. I had kind of a writing room, but it was 45 minutes to the old studio space. So between then and since 2016, we've built this. This is my attic. So this has recorded the Joe Granston Big Band. It's recorded the Daryl Scott Band. It's recorded Trey Anastasio. So we're picking up a lot of cool projects that can come in here, and mostly because it's my home and it's not open to the public.
Yep.
So we have to kind of reach out to our friends if we want to be a part of something in here and make it happen. Zac Brown Band will rehearse in here, and we've done some overdubs in here. But we still do most of our recording in Nashville at Zac's place, which is phenomenal.
Yep.
But this is 2,500 square feet. It's just think of the footprint of the house and then taking the roof off in lots of places and making it kind of an attic elevated. And this is a 20-foot peak up here. It's pretty cool. We're having a great run, but it's not as busy as some studios because I'm required to be here.
Yeah, no, that you're pretty much the same guy as me. Yours is upstairs, mine's downstairs. Mine's the whole basement of a 2,500 square foot home. So that's amazing to hear. And it's funny. It's like making records. Sometimes just being comfortable is the way to go. I mean, you can literally go in your case downstairs and have food with your family. And then come back, and it's not like you have to drive across town in order to get out of the studio and punch a clock. So I appreciate that. And I like the fact that you guys are doing that, hands on.
Yeah, man, I love it. Especially, being in my 40s and my kids are in school. It's like during the school year, not right now when we're homeschooling, of course, but during the school year, when they get home off the bus, I can be done. I can just get in there from 9 to 3 and work while my wife does her thing during the day. And then when the kids get home, we can all kind of knock off and be ready, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah, and watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about film. I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, I obviously people have probably asked these questions before. I want to know how deep like you get into the gear. Like obviously, I can tell you're a gearhead, right? You probably build your own consoles and you're doing your own, miking and whatnot at the studio. So I'm assuming that the same kind of concepts apply with film, right?
Well, we have produced a few music videos here that are fun. More of that, the production aspect, but it's not something that I'm as proficient at as, say, making mixes on Pro Tools. It's more of a I'm enjoying it. I've been in two movies, one of which was Nick Jonas was the star, and it's called Careful What You Wish For. Both of these movies I've played musicians, so I haven't had a chance to stretch my theater degree, but I have really enjoyed being involved and have written some songs for the movies. The other one's called Adolescence, and I was playing opposite Tommy Flanagan from Sons of Anarchy. So, these are fun things that I've been a part of, but I'd love to continue to do more. The music video thing is really exciting to me, but the film thing is too. And maybe we're not going to be back on the road till January. There might be an opportunity if Atlanta and the country can get a little healthier and start working into a way to work together that I could explore some of the amazing things going on in Atlanta. Just have to see how the safety of our neighbors pans out, and
Yeah.
wait for an opportunity.
Well, I was going to ask that. I actually didn't look at your tour dates prior to jumping on the call with you, which I should have. But were you guys set to go? Did you have to cancel anything and shove it, move it down? Were you guys supposed to go on tour?
We were on tour.
Oh,
We went out in February, and we had 3 weeks of our touring that had begun, and when we got home, we canceled the spring. So for a week or 10 days, we had decided that the spring we're just going to get back out in June, when we had another leg planned, and then we canceled the entire year. So we're not touring right now, and that's tough, because that's what we count on to generate our salaries and that kind of thing. So we're kind of coasting right now. We're very fortunate to have insurance and all those things, and we're just counting our blessings and trying to stay busy at home.
yeah. Well, I was going to bring that up because if you were on tour, I mean, it's obviously hard because the band has to, you're getting your salaries from there, but definitely I'm sure you guys are in a big enough act to where, you still have to pay your employees or some of your employees, meaning your tour manager, or the, drum tech, guitar tech, stage manager, all that stuff, front house. They must have took an even bigger hit because I think they're more like 1099, right? They're just like consultants, correct?
Well, some guys are independent contractors and have been laid off indefinitely until we get back on the road, and some have been put on reduced salaries like the band, and just trying to keep our mortgages paid and keep going. It's tough all around. I certainly hope that we don't lose anybody in the long run after this is all said and done. I hope everybody can come back to the tour. We run our ship a little bit differently so that we can keep everybody paid all year, and the touring needs to happen. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it is. It really is. We had an artist. His name's Devin Townsend. He plays the Fishman Fluence pickups, and he had to cancel a tour too. And he was actually somewhat in debt. He really wanted to do something right by his team, so he ended up starting a GoFundMe for his camp, and a lot of people have donated to that. So, is there anybody that you know of that has had to cancel a tour and also is in the same situation other than yourselves?
Pretty sure everybody. I'm pretty sure everybody has canceled everything, or some people have postponed and hope to get back in the fall. But Live Nation has closed all the venues, so I mean we're just kind of waiting on everything to get better. I don't know of anybody who's playing shows right now. You? Do you know of anybody that's playing?
No, no. If anything, it's all online. You know how it is. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one. I just gotta say, it's like it's one thing to cancel tour and just like stopped abruptly, and then there's one thing to like, oh, the tour's not happening. You're kind of relying on the money, but if it doesn't happen, you're still home. But
Yeah.
in your case, it's always tough to be out and then have to just stop. I was lucky enough. I was out in Europe with my band, and we were in Europe, and we only did a 2 week tour. But luckily, we came home right at the time when we were supposed to. But those other bands, I don't know if you've ever heard of the heavy metal band Testament. They stayed a little bit longer than us, and Chuck Billy and his wife ended up getting really sick, diagnosed with the coronavirus because they were stuck in Europe. So that's always tough. But Tim McKee from Dunlop is saying hi. So I'm not
Oh,
sure if
good.
you're sure if you know him or not. But
Oh yeah, totally.
so you're also too. I looked it up. You're gonna have a Corona birthday because your birthday's on the 3rd, right?
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna throw another like a party at your house with your with your fam?
It's kind of cute when the kids are here because we've had lots of kid birthdays, and we've gotten in the. I'm not going to do this for me, but we've gotten in the car and we've had a birthday parade. So I've got a pickup truck, and the kids will get in the back, and they'll play the Bluetooth speaker, the Deemer box, and they'll streamer the truck. We've done this 3 times, and they drive by the house of their friend, and they wave, and we honk, and that's the birthday party. It's like it's better than nothing, and the kids don't know it's coming, so it's a surprise. But for me, I thought about. I mean, I'm going to be 49, which it's like you're almost, So my wife asked what I wanted to do, and I kind of thought, maybe we'll do like a Zoom or something. Invite a bunch of people to it, like a studio cocktail party where everybody just kind of talks. But I don't know. Probably nothing. Probably would just,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be hard having a birthday like this. I see so many people, canceling weddings and having birthdays stuck in their house. It's kind of a bummer, but hopefully you'll have a birthday and then you'll have like a makeup birthday later on. But we have a question here from, let's say, Eric Stratton. Are you still working with Buddy Melton and Balsam Range?
absolutely. I haven't had a chance to do anything on the recording end with those guys for a minute. But I was able to go do their Christmas show in Lake Junaluska this past December. They are by far my favorite bluegrass band, and collectively one of my favorite groups of people. Just a fantastic bunch of guys, and much love to them and their families.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I have to ask you. So I don't know if many people ask you this, but I mean, you did a project with Dave Grohl, right?
Yeah,
What was that? What was that like? How'd that all come about?
it was so cool. The funniest part was like day one, because we were only doing 4 songs. It was an EP, and Dave was supposed to be there. I don't know, call it 2 o'clock. He was getting on an early flight out of LA, and he was going to show up in Nashville to meet with us and start producing these tunes. So we're sitting there in our chairs, ready to go, and there's a time difference. So we, 11 or 12, I can't remember what time it happened. Some crazy person ran in with a gun to the TSA agent at LAX. You probably remember hearing about it. It was 2013.
Yeah.
And so the airport shuts down. And so Dave's like, now what? So he gets in a car and goes to Burbank. And I ticket and fly. But that means he doesn't get there until like 10:30 at night.
Yep.
So we're just sitting around all day long with these couple songs that we've been messing with. And so Dave runs in there. We're in position, like it's the room like this, and we're sitting there with our stations. You got your acoustic guitar and your electric guitar and your amp and your pedal board. You're just kind of waiting. And Dave walks in. He's like, hits the button. We've never met him before. He's only met Zach at this point.
Yeah.
He's like, hey guys, we're like, hey Dave. He's like, let's rock. And so that's it. We just start playing, like, cool, here's this song we were messing with. So 3 hours later, he's like, I think this is killer, guys. Let's drink. We're like, okay. So that was it. We were over for the, we had a few cocktails and hung out with him for a couple hours, and then got started back the next day at noon and carved out these 4 songs that I'm still super proud of. I mean, just what a great energy that whole time. And during that, he went and sat in with us and played at the CMA Awards. So it was just a really cool experience all around to get to play on stage with him, and to get to do these tunes. And we've stayed close to Dave ever since. He's just a super guy.
I know he's absolutely amazing. Speaking from a little bit of experience, I had a quick encounter with him. I think we played Grass Pop in Europe, and like it's amazing to me that I've been to a couple shows where he's like been up since like 7 a.m. to night, like just cooking barbecue for everyone that's backstage, which is totally cool. He's also like the type of guy, if you don't even know him, you sit there. I was watching Iron Maiden at Grass Pop, and we're up in the booth, and like literally we talked for about an hour just about whatever. We're talking about, whiskey and this and that. And it's like, it's cool to see that like guys like yourself, guys like him, you all know each other, and you guys are just like, down to earth where, he could be a total rock star, but he's totally not.
Yeah, he's so easy to hang with. One of the things that Zach said when we met him, he said, he reminds me of every dude in your crew. I was like, we're the same age kind of. And I was like, he does. He's just like all that. He's from Virginia. We're from the South. Like it's like he's a lot like a lot of the guys that I hang with, and all my best friends. And it's just a testament to his personal nature. So.
Well, all your to move on with your the music that you create. I mean, obviously the Zac Brown Band it's massive, right? I could ask you questions about that all day, but your solo stuff. I mean, it's such a departure from Zac Brown. What is it like create with that creative process?
Well, it's interesting because the things that I bring to Zac Brown Band, vocally and as a songwriter, are very much the things that I bring to my own music. So when you dissect Zac Brown Band and you start pulling different pieces away, say we do something without Clay or without Coy or without Matt, you start to feel the changes that happen. So
yep.
One of the ways I've described it is that we're a band full of band leaders. Yeah. And everybody in this group has been a music director or a band leader of some sort in their own lives before joining the band. So we bring this kind of process that we're already committed to into a process that needs to be an amalgamation. So it's when you listen to my record's coming out this summer, I hope I'm 90% done with it. And when you listen to those tunes, you're gonna feel like a lot of that sounds kind of Zac Brown bandish, but then you've got me at the helm, and the songs are just a little different.
Yeah.
So you kind of tell how I bring my thing to Zac Brown Band, and then Clay's putting out a record, Coy's putting out a record. You listen to these records individually, you kind of think, oh, wow, I can hear what these guys sound like when they come together. So
yeah,
about the way that we roll.
Well, that's kind of like where I'm going with it. So I'm gonna, with my band, it's like I write a certain amount of songs. My other guitar player writes a certain amount of songs. You know what each guy kind of does. So when you're writing for, say, Zac Brown, because like obviously you've written some monster hits with that band, obviously collaborating with them. Are you writing with the intent of thinking of the other guy that may not be in the room? Because that's one of those things where like you could play something back in your studio and you're like, oh, if if this part gets in here, I know they're going to add this to it. Do you kind of do you write like that, or you just kind of write straightforward?
Yeah, I mean, Zac has been branching out in the past couple records to some pop guys and guys that we weren't quickly familiar with. But when I'm writing a song that I feel like Zac Brown Band can use, I certainly take on the 15 years of being in the group to think about who's going to do what and how it might be choreographed. I think the other guys probably do too. A lot of what I ended up adding to Zac Brown Band now is vocal arrangements in the backgrounds, things that haven't been very prevalent in recent albums, but things that I feel like we still really cling to and really love, especially in a live scenario. and that I feel like will continue to do over the years. But we keep exploring and pushing new boundaries, and Zach has a vision that we back him on. So it continues, like your group, to evolve based on who brings whatever to the table. So yeah, we definitely think that in those terms.
Yeah, so like when you're writing your own stuff though, your solo project stuff. I mean, I know how I am. Like I'll get in the studio and I'll write a song and I'll listen to it maybe 9,000 times in the car. Are
Yeah.
you the type of guy that are you confident in your material where when you write something for yourself or your solo album, do you listen to it a bunch of times or do you have a few guys that you know of that like you bounce it off of just to make sure you're not crazy?
Yeah, I do have some people that I will bounce it off of to make sure that my mixes are solid. A couple of guys in Zach Brown band, I always bounce it off of those cats because they're tuned with the way it should sound. But my personal band, when I'm building my songs for this record, especially, I know which part is going to be Leah's part. I've got a girl who sings and plays fiddle. I've got a banjo player who plays steel, and that's not always appropriate for the tune. So we're trying to make these parts creative and make them appropriate. So I want the band to feel and sound like we do on stage, but I also want it to be polished. So when I'm writing these tunes, I'm kind of already thinking about what those parts are going to be like. When you've got a female singer who can sky over everybody else, it's like now you've got this new way to come at a tune, one that you hadn't thought of in the past. So
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I like it's always good to hear about people's creative processes. Going back to Zach Brown band too. Obviously, I was reading up, and I've always been fascinated by bands that kind of do not like instrument switches and member switches, or like for instance, like the Cars is one of my favorite bands. I'm from Massachusetts, so obviously, Cars is one of my all-time favorites. Obviously, they had some hits with one of the guys in the band, the bass player, singing Drive, right? And then like in the later 80s, the other guitar player became the lead singer, and they kind of things happen like that. In your case, I mean, you started off as a bass player, and then you
yeah.
became a vocalist and guitar player. Is like when does a band like just turn around and say, like we should do this instead of what we've been doing, and when does that happen?
It was crazy because Zach and I were out on a trip together with a bunch of other folks, and I was entertaining a big group of people as a lead singer, and Zach saw me do that, and of course I've been doing this as long as I've known him, but he just, I guess he remembered. I think I was singing a Marty Robbins tune and getting the crowd involved and being a theatrical idiot and just being a ham and going crazy and whatever. And he's like, I want you to do more of that. And so he wanted to hire a bass player that would allow me to run around and do more crazy stuff. So it just changed my role a little bit to where I could be kind of not a lead singer, but a secondary singer in the band, more so than having to hold down the bass duties as well. So for our purposes, it was to put me in a more theatrical position, and in doing so, we attached Matt Mangano to the band, who's of course a Berkeley grad, 10 times better bass player than me. So it just was. It was like win, let's do it. Great. So
Yeah, it's
sometimes those things.
I was gonna say it's always great being a bass player, and then you actually see a real bass player play, and you're like, yeah. So going to your gear, I mean, obviously you've been with Fishman for a long time. Obviously, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. What do you use currently for our products?
So this is, aside from pickups and things like, there's a really interesting way that I've been using this Aura. Are you familiar with this, JP? I'm sure you are. This guy.
Oh yeah.
Majesty.
Mm-hmm.
You got that? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. So the toggle switch. Those of you who don't know, this is a Music Man Petrucci Majesty, and this is the acoustic pickup. It's a piezo in the bridge,
Yep.
And this is the electric pickup, so the humbucker's there. And then you have a volume control for the acoustic, and it's got one jack, and it's
Yep.
a stereo jack. So what happens is you get that acoustic sound out of the guitar, but it's got electric strings, and there's not really an acoustic cavity that makes it sound like an acoustic. So I've been using the Aura to try to dial in the piezo sound, and it's killer. Kind of, you get the chance to model the dreadnought, the orchestra, the concert. I'm staying on the dreadnought the whole time. But,
Yeah, those are images made especially for the guitar, correct?
yeah, and it's supposed to be for the acoustic to give you, just this modeled acoustic sound, but it works great for the piezo on the protrusion. Just a way that I was like, how do I make that better? Check this out. So that's a piece of my gear that people wouldn't think about, because I'm trying to use an electric guitar to make an acoustic sound.
Yep. No, that's awesome. A lot of people use the Aura. They find it's an all-in-one kind of solution. You can plug right into it. It has like great imaging. So when you're playing a guitar, it just goes right to the front house or right through your PA, and it sounds magical. So you've been using that for a while, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Any other notable Fishman products that you're using?
I love the banjo pickup.
It's an amazing one.
Yeah.
Cool.
In fact, I've used the banjo pickup on some occasions by itself completely, and then I've used it with the rare earth, the inside the cavity as a blend. So it's been awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're getting a lot of questions here. Obviously, like, it's lighting up. Everyone's just asking me about this Christmas album. So I guess we have to talk about it. Everyone loves your Christmas album. Do you plan on doing another one this year?
Well, I'm trying to do one every 2 years. I did one in 2015, 17, and 19. The one in 2015 was with the Atlanta Pops Orchestra. That was insane, having to wrangle 35 people and to these arrangements that my friend Wes Funderburk put together for me. But that was kind of a greatest hits of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I just chose all of my favorite Christmas songs, not knowing if I'd ever do another one. And then 2 years later, I did one with the Joe Johnson Big Band, and that one was all Santa songs. So that was all big band jazz. And then last year, I'm actually wearing the shirt. The ATL Collective is the band that did this last one with me, and it's all R&B songs from 1950 to 1985.
That's awesome.
All of these things have horn arrangements and string arrangements and drums, bass, piano, keys, all of it. They're super intricate, and for me, it's a chance to bring out that theatrical element a little bit and do something that I can come back to every season. I'm definitely hoping that my Christmas shows still happen. We've got a lot of things planned, but no record this year. It's possible that we could do a deluxe version, like a vinyl version of either the big band or the ATL Collective, or both. We've got the time. We just have to have the safety.
Yep.
So if we can do that, then we would have some deluxe versions that we come out with some new songs. But right now, we're tentatively scheduled to begin the next Christmas record at the end of this year with the Yacht Rock Review. If that happens the way that I hope it does, then we'll be getting involved with that in October, something like that.
Excuse my ignorance. What is the Yacht Rock Review? Because I am obviously, being in a heavy metal band, dudes like us, we should be listening to heavy metal before the show. But my guitar player and I only listen to Yacht Rock, so I want to know what this is.
You need to know, and I want you to Google it when we get off the call, because you're going to friggin' love guys. Half of them are metal guys, and the other half are progressive rock guys, singer-songwriter guys. They're all multi-instrumental, fantastic talents. They're all from Atlanta, and they have cornered this yacht rock thing, and they're playing theater. Like if when they come to Boston, they're going to be in a 1,200 seat, 1,500 seat theater. But it's called the Yacht Rock Review. They've got the polyester shirts. They've got the hair. They've got the sunglasses. They sway like this when, like in sync when they're playing. It's insane. And they're so very good. And you're going to love them. Anyway, they're all super close friends of mine that I've known them for 20 years. And each of these Christmas records is got a theme behind it. And this next one's going to be they're kind of have their own like vibe. And like the first one's blue, and then the second one is Santa, and it's all red. And the third one is gold, and it's all R&B. And the next one's going to be like yacht rock, and it's going to be like snowfall, like cocaine and eggnog. You know, I mean,
That's like, so sick.
We're trying to have fun with it.
People don't understand the power of yacht rock. My girlfriend's she's a few years younger than me, and I took her to an Air Supply concert recently. And,
yes.
and I'm like, she doesn't know any of the material. She's like, I don't know how I missed this, because she's a music fan. And I'm like, oh yeah, you definitely missed it. I'm like, watch what happens when they sing this song. And sure enough, the room is just like a spiritual moment. And she's like, I gotta start listening to this stuff. I can't believe I missed this.
You love it or nothing at all.
Yeah, any of their songs is like a home run in a baseball game. Like they just hit them all day. Same thing with like going. I used to call one of my favorite artists of all time is Eddie Money. Obviously, he's since passed, but I used to call that rock and roll church, right? So like you would go there, you'd go order about 8 or 9 drinks for your friends, but like it's just everyone's in the hands in the air, religious experience. The best quote I've heard on stage was Eddie Money. He said like he grabbed the mic and he's like, I wrote this song 3 rehabs ago, and just threw his tambourine in the air. You can't beat that kind of stuff. But well,
it's all tongue in cheek. I mean, you know, these guys are family men, and they're absolutely fantastic musicians and consummate professionals. And but they're always on the cruises. They're perfect for it. And when they're not on the cruises, they're touring and killing it in these great theaters and arenas. And you got to check it out. They just put out their own original record that kind of follows that jam band sort of groove, and they're fantastic.
Well, I'll say it in my best Boston accent. If you and I are at one of their gigs sometime and I see you there, I'm going to buy a Cape Cod. We're going to drink.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, people are asking, and please feel free to say no at this, but most of these people are asking on the feed if you'd play us something. You have an acoustic guitar behind you. They're mentioning it. Would you play us a little bit of something before we get out of here?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So I like this one, especially in terms of the crisis. It's called "Missing You All the Time," and it's about my girls. But it kind of feels at least the chorus kind of feels like when are we going to get to hang out again? You know.
I love it.
Right before it got crazy, right before Atlanta went shelter in place, we had a socially distant concert at the top of my driveway. And the neighbors showed up with lawn chairs, and you know, I put my Bose rig out on by the mailbox, and that's the last time I got to play for anybody. So it's been a month now, and I'm getting antsy. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, everybody's freaking out that you're playing this song, so this is totally awesome.
Oh, good. Here we go. Hurricane just south of New Orleans kept us stuck just north of Slidell. Now we've got to double back down to Houston, where it's hot as hell. Got a message from my daughter. Wish I could have picked up the phone. Don't Don't you dare miss my birthday. Daddy, please come home. Gotta hope I can with a little faith and the grace of God. I'll be on my way. Missing you all the time, all day long. Every night, tonight turns into dawn. Missing you all the time, everywhere I look, I swear I see you there. You with my whole world around you, girl. Missing you all the time. With the pictures, every night they put me to bed. That little ballerina keeps dancing, dancing in my head. I bet she's standing there at the window. Don't let her think your daddy don't care. Kiss her cheek and tell her I love her, and I'm almost there. Tell her keep the faith. Gotta hope she can. By the grace of God, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. I'm missing you all the time, all day long. Every night, tonight turns into dawn. Missing you all the time, everywhere I look, I swear I see you there. You with my whole world around you, girl. Missing you all the time again. I swear I never miss a moment. We'll always be there, but the world keeps spinning me round and round and round and round. I keep reaching for you. I keep reaching for you. I keep reaching for you. It's time all day long. Every night turns into dawn. Missing you all the time, everywhere I look, I swear I see you there. You with my whole world around you, girl. Missing you all missing you all the time.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You're the first person to actually play a song on our live feed, so we really appreciate that. That was amazing. That was awesome, guys. This was John Driskell Hopkins, and actually, if you want to find more music of his, go to johndriscollhopkins.com. It was great having you, man. Hopefully, we'll see you around soon, and we really appreciate you supporting the Fishman thing.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for all you do. You guys are amazing.
All right, I'll catch up with you soon, man. Have a good one.
Bye, buddy. You too.
Bye.